Giving all glory and honor and praise to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakar Kadash. Double honor to the elder apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teaching us the 100% truth. Shalom to the whole free elect, beginning with 144,000 and the rest of the men, women, and children of the elect. I'm your brother Magan Shalomar. The title of this video will be Trump is making America look like a fool, which we know Esau, Edom, they are fools. Yahweh called them fools. So we're going to get right into this video, showing you how Iran, being so small, then America actually made, like the other apostle Ramlab said, made him say uncle first. So, you know, America is supposed to be the powerhouse of this world, but now they're looking weak. And so this is the downfall. This is the beginning of the downfall. We can actually see how the nations are hating America. You know, the Edomites is looking, starting to look wicked, you know, because the prophets have been on the highways and byways bringing out this truth, showing you who this devil truly is. You know, Esau, Edom is the devil on this earth that's given this power to rule this earth for a short period of time. But every day we're starting to see Esau power is getting less and less. His rulership on this earth is falling, you know, and we're waiting on the issuing out the mark of the beast. We know that to be the RFID chip, and that's the only thing that's holding back World War III. And once World War III happens, then we know Yahweh Shai is going to crack that sky with his 200 millions of angels inside of those chariots, along with the missiles. The chariots going to be destroying America. America is going to be totally destroyed. The whole earth isn't going to be totally destroyed, but America is going to be totally destroyed, and it's not going to be repaired. It's going to become a desert. And Israel is going to be totally destroyed, but it's going to be repaired because Yahweh Shai is going to set up his kingdom. And Jerusalem is going to be the rulership of Yahweh Shai here on earth. And through default, hope for elect, we pray that we're the hope for elect, that we're going to also be rulers in Yahweh Shai's kingdom. It's here set up on earth. So all of this is through prayer, man, that this, you know, through our patience, we hastily await, we hastily hasten the day for that to happen, so we can put all these kingdoms, all these nations, beginning with Esau, Edom, into captivity. You know, that's what we truly want. This captivity for the heathen nations, where they become our slaves. You know, and we're gonna deal with them in rigorously, especially the damn Esau, Edom. You know, so this is fair use, not for monetary gain, but for educational purpose only. Fair use.
Donald Trump has fully caved to all 10 of Iran's negotiating demands as Donald Trump was about to have his 8 p.m. Eastern deadline expire, where he said that he would obliterate the entire civilization of Iran. Iran didn't budge for weeks now. If you've been watching the Midas Touch Network, we've been saying Iran put forward a 10-point plan for its negotiating framework. The Trump regime put forward a 15-point plan for its negotiating framework, and Iran had always rejected the 15-point plan and said, we will only agree to a ceasefire or any deal with our 10 terms. And previously, the Trump regime said it was maximalist, that they would never agree to it, but Iran never budged. And moments ago, when Donald Trump announced that there would be a ceasefire, as we were hitting up against that 8 p.m. Eastern deadline where he said there would be total obliteration, Donald Trump confirmed that he would negotiate within the 10-point framework of Iran. Now, Iranian media is saying this is a crushing defeat for Donald Trump and the United States. I mean, as part of this 10-point framework, Iran gets to continue enriching uranium. It recognizes that Iran has full control over the Strait of Hormuz and will make $2 million per ship that passes. It recognizes that Iran gets to keep all of its ballistic missiles and drones. It recognizes that the U.S. must provide complete reparations to Iran. It recognizes that U.S. must immediately abandon its military bases in the Middle East. Folks, this is a complete and utter capitulation by Donald Trump. And I don't want you to think I'm being hyperbolic, so let's just go through the language. Let's see what Trump said. Let's see what Iran said. Remember my reporting on this 10-point framework. I mean, for weeks now, Iran's been saying 10-point framework, 10-point framework. And what I've been saying here on the Midas Touch Network is the only way I could imagine that there would be a deal is if Donald Trump basically fully surrendered and agreed to all 10 points. And that's exactly what Donald Trump did here. Let me just go through the 10 points for you that Iran has been saying for weeks now. Number one, a commitment to non-aggression against Iran, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and the Iranian Shiite groups in Iraq, continuation of Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz, acceptance of Iran's uranium enrichment, lifting all primary sanctions from Iran, lifting all secondary sanctions of Iran, termination of all UN Security Council resolutions, termination of all Board of Governor resolutions, payment of compensation to Iran, withdrawal of U.S. combat forces from the region, cessation of war on all fronts, including against Hezbollah in Lebanon. That's always been the 10-point framework. So here's what Donald Trump said before as he announced the ceasefire. Now, Donald Trump and Hegseth and others from the regime may go on propaganda media like Fox and say, this was a win. Donald Trump's a negotiating master. This was a complete and utter surrender. The biggest wipeout in American history, period. The biggest loser of America ever historically. I'm trying to explain to you the gravity of the loss right here because I know American media is going to be like, oh, a deal's been reached and look at the stock market. Folks, America just said, we are out. We are done. We lose. Utter surrender. Just watch what Donald Trump says. Here's his post. Based on conversations with Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir of Pakistan, and wherein they requested that I hold off the destructive force being sent tonight to Iran and subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz, I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. This will be a double-sided ceasefire. The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded military objectives and are very far along with a definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Trump is saying the 10-point plan is a workable basis on which to negotiate. And that had all of those 10 features that I just read for you. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran. So Trump's saying there, he's already agreed to most of these 10 points that I just read for you. But a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated. On behalf of the United States of America as president and also representing the countries of the Middle East, it is an honor to have this long-term problem close to resolution. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, that's his statement. What we're also hearing about this ceasefire is China was very influential in working with Pakistan, and Russia was involved as well. And Donald Trump just tapped out. He agreed to all 10. And it's not like he said, well, it's not just that he said it was a framework to negotiate with him. He said that almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to already. So let's take a look at the statement from Iran's Supreme National Security Council calling this a crushing defeat for the U.S., saying that they've been forced to accept their 10-point plan. Iran claims U.S. has agreed to continued Iranian control of the Strait of Hormuz, continued enrichment of uranium.
After a career working for major...
So yeah, um, they tapped out, you know, and that's true. America tapped out. America's tapped out. Trump tapped out. Now America look very, very weak. They supposed to be the powerhouse of the hammer of the world, right? And you are. That's why we understand that this hammer is um, being torn down through the power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. You know, this is Job. We're gonna go to Job chapter 30, and we'll go to verse 8. It says, "They were children of fools, yeah, children of base men. They were viler than the earth," and that's Esau Edom, because Esau Edom uh, went back. They was driven back to the clefts of the rocks during the medieval time period, the Middle Ages, when Jake ruled Europe, and they was pushed back into those mountains, man. When they became like dumb animals, they be talking. They couldn't even talk. They was braying like jackasses and horses. But this is who's in charge, who the Lord put in charge of this world right now. He has the power to be in rulership over the whole entire earth. And this is the wicked, the evil, the vilest men on the earth, Esau Edom, the so-called white man. And they are the children of fools. They are children of base men, meaning they're the lowest of all human beings on this earth. They are the most dumbest, foolish, the I don't have that many words to even, use without, using, some explicit words for them, man. But they dumb as shit, pretty much. But they are in charge of this earth. They're the vilest on this earth. And that's who the Lord put in charge of this earth for now. But you think, you let them tell it, they the most wisest, they are so wise and would understand it. But we can look at this fool. You listen to Donald Trump, and when he talks and the way he tells the story of how he talks, he goes all over the place. They are ridiculing him every day. The comedians is on him every day, and they making fun of him. And he's looking worse. He's making America look worse than what Sleepy Joe Biden did. Because Donald Trump's supposed to have been this guy who's going to bring the war, finish the war for Russia and Ukraine in 24 hours. When he first came into office, he didn't do it. He ran on the slogan of he's going to be the president that will not start any wars, and we already in a war that Congress did not approve, and America got their ass whooped. And he's agreeing to those 10 demands from Iran, and Iran gonna get paid for paying for rest of those ships that's gonna come through the Strait of Hormuz, getting paid $2 million when it was free, all because of this fool, this idiot, Donald Trump. Daniel chapter 4, verse 17 says, "This matter is by decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men." You see that? So that's talking about the angels and the prophets here on earth. It's showing is showing you that, it's telling you that Yahweh Shai is the ruler. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is the ruler of men. Even though Donald Trump say he's in charge and doing his own thing, but in actual fact, everything that's happening on this earth is coming from the power and strength of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Everything is prophesied. That's how we know, because Great Millstone, started from the elder apostles on down, is the school of prophecy. That's what elder apostle Ta'ar and the rest of the apostles on down, the elders, the bishops, the prophets, the teachers, it's all about the prophecies, man. And you can see that everything that is prophesied, we see it come into fruition every day. This dude is a fool, man, that Yahweh is using to bring in this MOTB. We believe that he is Neuro, and he's going to bring in this MOTB. And if he's not, then the next president is going to be even more violent than him. But we know that this MOTB, we know that to be the RFID chip, is close because this kingdom is falling. This economy is falling. You know, all the beast is starting to hate the whore. Donald Trump has gotten ill statements and ill will from all of his allies. You know, Spain, France, all of those EU. You know, EU is part of the beast. You know, they're starting to wake up and they've started to hate the whore. Sweden, you know, Netherlands, all of them are starting to hate the whore. You know, and you know the whore is that bitch America, Babylon the Great. You know, it says, may know that the Most High Yahweh ruleth in all kingdom in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and set it up over it the basis of men. You see, so again, he set it up, you know, to be the basis of all the heathen nations on earth. He gave it to the so-called white man. They the basis of all men. You know, so what can we expect? Donald Trump is doing a hell of a job. The so-called white man did a hell of a job in destroying this earth. You know, this earth that we all have to live on, even that he have to live on, he's destroyed it. In every kind of way, physically, in every kind of way, he's destroyed this earth. That's why Revelation chapter 11 says he's going to destroy him that destroyed the earth. So his time is numbered, man. We just waiting out the time patiently, waiting out for this devil to go ahead and bring out that new world order. This is Job 14:5. It says, seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. So there's a point that he cannot pass. He's not getting no higher than what he is. He's already in his kingdom. Talking about Esau, Edom, he's already in his kingdom, and his kingdom already went to the top. He already peaked. You know, he peaked in the 50s was his peak. I think the apostles them said it was like during the 50s was the golden age for America. You know, the money was flourishing. You know, Wall Street was flourishing. And this devil was like his lies was prominent on this earth. All these nations was seeking to profit off this whore, America. And since the truth came out in 1969, 1970, that this bastard went to the moon, or not went to the moon, but went to space, because he lied about the moon thing. But he went up to space. He said he went to the moon, but he should have never done that. He should have never made his nest upon the stars. And once he done that, man, his kingdom has been falling. And so this is where we at, because a Bible business was brought back, you know, at the last days. You know, that's according to Malachi chapter 4. And he woke up the southern tribe is Judah, the northern tribe is Ephraim, and brought, you know, put that stick back together. We wrote that the stick is wrote in the 12 tribes of who we are, and the majority of the tribes is here in America. So the elite is waking up. This truth is going through pretty much done reached the whole four corners of this earth, known about the Israelite, one Westers, you know. But Great Millstone has the 100% truth. Tells you who we are, the MOTB and the prophets. The prophecies in the Bible. No other camp is doing that 100%. No other camp. But yeah, there's bounds that he cannot pass, and he already reached his bounds back 50 years. In the 50s, he reached it. And now, like Yahweh Shah said, he's seen Satan fall like lightning. So when Yahweh Shah walked this earth, he saw the power structure of Esau was falling in. So how much more now that Esau has fallen out of heaven? Revelation chapter 12, verse 10. I believe that's right. You know, that he saw Satan fall like, woe to them that's on the earth. because Satan had come down and he's full of wrath because he knows he has but a short time, right? So yeah, that's him falling out of his power, man. He's full of wrath, and he's gonna hurry up and try to get that his new world order pushed through. And who is he? The top elites of the banking families, the Amaleks, the small hats, the tiny tops. They're the ones who's behind Trump, who's pushing this new world order. You know, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Murdochs, the DuPonts, the Gettys, the Oppenheimers, you know, all them small hats. They're the ones they're the ones who's behind the scene, who's crashing this economy, you know, pushing these wars just so that the petrodollar can fall. And then they can bring in that new world order, which is that the CBDC, the central bank currency, digital currency, which is going to end up being the RFID chip that's going to be placed in your forehead or in your right hand. I mean, somewhere in your body, inside your brain, that you can't buy or sell without having that chip put in you, a physical thing. You know, so yeah, that's the only thing we're waiting on. Because after that, World War III gonna kick off, and Yahweh Shai is gonna come in the midst of that war, and he's gonna destroy Esau's kingdom, and he's gonna 100% destroy America, 100% destroy Israel. It's gonna be burned, but Israel is gonna be rebuilt, and it's gonna become the kingdom of our Lord Yahweh Shai Hamashiach, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And by default, we going to be ruling, meaning the elite, starting with the elite. The elite is going to be the ones, Salakia, misspoke. The elect is going to be the ones who are going to rule by default with Yahweh Shai in his kingdom, man. He's going to set up the David tabernacle. We're going to be in the second covenant when we get them new bodies, you know, and have power on this earth. And what we gonna do when we get that power, boy? We're gonna go to Psalms 149:5. Here we go. It says, "Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praise of the Most High be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand." Right? Because that's what it's gonna be like, man. We're gonna be praising the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and we're gonna have a literal sword in our hand. When we get that power, you know what I mean? We're gonna have a sword in our hand, man. In that day, when Yahweh Shai returns, man, in that day, when we put our enemies and our fucking our enemies in chains, man. It said, "Let the high praises of the Most High Yahweh be in their mouth, and the two-edged swords in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishment upon the people." Right. So all the heathen nations, man, beginning with Esau, Edom, top of the list. You know, we're gonna put some punishment on them, man. That's punishment with swords. To bind the kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron. Their ass is going back into captivity. Their ass is going into slavery. Ain't no way you can cut it. It's gonna be different. You can't water this down. You can't dilute it any other kind of way. These other camps out there talking about all the heathen nations gonna be saved and some of them not gonna be harsh camp. Listen, their ass is going into fucking slavery with the worst type of idea that you can think of. We're gonna meditate evil. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna meditate on that ass. We're gonna meditate how we're gonna just deal with this fucking the heathen nation, especially Esau. We're gonna meditate. What am I gonna do to fuck them up tomorrow morning? Something different. I'm gonna be creative and fucking them up, man. Very creative. You know? And just coming up with some creative way to cause all types of pain and suffering for their ass, man. Because they don't give a fuck about us. They never did give a fuck about us. You know? It says to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishment upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute upon them judgment written. This honor have all the saints. Praise ye Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. So that's perfect. That's perfect. That's what's coming to Trump. So he's sitting there doing all this, talking about what he's going to do to Iran. What he needs to be doing is thinking about how he's going to be serving us in slavery. Him and his little crew, all of those elect, starting with the elect. But yeah, that's the punishment for all these heathens, man, especially Esau Edom, so-called white man. This is your heaven right here. This is the best it's going to get. And the Lord said you got a border that you cannot pass, a boundary that you can't pass. You have an appointed time. So enjoy the time you got left. Enjoy this time now, because your time is about to be, this time that you're ruling is about to be over with. It's done and over with. So with that, pray you edify, call halal, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Kahar Kadash. Again, double honors to the elder apostles, great millstone who rule well. Shalom.